Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, and in today's video I'm going to be delving into the future of ALTON TOWERS Resort. Now, if you do go on to enjoy the video, make sure to like, subscribe, anything makes me know you guys like this type of content, so I don't usually do this quite a lot. And as well as that, definitely leave any video suggestions you have in the comments below. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to be talking about is the possible addition to more theming on Galactica. Now, if you didn't already know, last year or last season, Galactica's VR was actually removed. Now, obviously, when you're building a VR coaster, obviously VR, being a massive sort of thing, you don't really need, a lot of theming in real life. So obviously, when people were designing Galactica, they kind of designed it around that sort of element, not really adding too much sort of theming around. Obviously, you've got the massive portal, which you can see just under the first drop, which is a really cool theming element. But obviously, now that the VR's been taken out, I feel like it kind of needs a little bit more theming. And to put that into perspective a little bit, when you exit out of the station first, you sort of go through a little bit where you're, proceeding through the building, obviously just before you go through the lift hill, and it's kind of, disgusting, obviously. Disgusting is quite a strong word. It's kind of just a bit out of place. To be honest, when you're going through it with VR, you probably wouldn't really notice it, obviously, because in VR, you are kind of going through a space station sort of thing, and obviously you proceed up the lift hill like that. However, when you go on it without, it's kind of just like a concrete tunnel, just before you go up the lift hill, which doesn't really fit with the theming and kind of takes you out of the experience. So possibly if there were to sort of revamp in and, put a little bit more theming in, potentially that could be one of the areas they worked on. Maybe, we could see them add in some sort of space station theme in there, which would, fit with the station theming, or just possibly, tidy up the walls a little bit, paint them, a nice blue colour or something. I don't really know. But yeah, it would definitely freshen up the ride a lot more. And obviously, as you're going around, maybe that don't really matter as much, obviously, because you're on a ride. But obviously, adding some more of them portals could be quite cool. Maybe adding some rocks and rock work and stuff could really add to the theme. Like I said, the main problem with this ride wasn't the lack of theming when it opened. It was mainly because, the VR wasn't great, and now they've taken it out. It kind of, takes that sort of space theme away from the ride. So potentially, we could be seeing some changes to that, but obviously that's not concrete yet, and, it could happen in the near future, depending on whether or not they're going to bring the VR back. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be talking about in today's video is the possible addition to the ALTON TOWERS dungeons. Now, if you've been to ALTON TOWERS this year, you will know that they did add the ALTON TOWERS dungeons, and in my opinion, this is probably one of my favourite upcharge attractions I've ever experienced. Now, if you don't know what an upcharge attraction is, it's basically an attraction you have to pay a little bit more money for. Obviously, once you've entered the park and you pay for your ticket, you have to pay about another £5 for it. However, I can't really complain because you're in there for a good hour and a half, and you do get quite a good quality experience. It's not one of them things where they sort of put you in there, you paid for it, and it really isn't a good experience. And, I feel like it could definitely be, a big thing for the park. Obviously, upcharge attractions do sort of collect a little bit of extra money for the park. And I feel like if they added any more experiences to this, I definitely think it could be very, very successful. In terms of what I think they could add to the dungeons, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not really that up to date with a lot of the ALTON TOWERS, like folklore and stuff like that. But definitely some more of that. I know that in it you do have like the haunting of Molly Lee. I'm pretty sure that was something to do with Alton and like Staffordshire and stuff like that. But yeah, as well as that, obviously you could add some more classic dungeon experiences in there as well. Obviously maybe the drop tower if they're feeling brave enough to invest that much money into it. But I do really think that all the money they collected from this year, they could definitely use into sort of revamping it or making some new scenes. Obviously we know they're kind of focusing on the ALTON TOWERS, the brand new ride they're having and the brand new area, obviously with the world of David Williams. However, if they do have the time, they do have the chance, I feel like it'd be a very, very good investment for the park. Like I said, no clue what they could add, but there is definitely room for improvement and also some room for new additions. Okay, so the final thing I'm going to be talking about in today's video is the possible expansion of the Wickerman area. Now, if you didn't already know, Wickerman is pretty much placed next to Mutiny Bay. Obviously, it was the new attraction for last year, and probably is one of my favourite coasters in the park, and definitely my favourite themed coaster I've ever been on. And I feel like the atmosphere that ALTON TOWERS were able to create with this attraction was absolutely phenomenal, and I feel like if they expanded the area a little bit past the courtyard, I feel like it could really benefit the park. Obviously, you know, that part of the park is Mutiny Bay, which is their massive pirate themed sort of area, which could probably, you know, be a factor in it for them not to do it, obviously, because it's probably quite a popular area, obviously for kids and stuff. But if they did expand the Wickerman area even a little bit more, I would 100% love it. Obviously, add maybe a restaurant in there. Obviously, we know you got the Welcome Inn, not the maze, the restaurant. However, I do feel like expanding it and maybe adding some new sort of attractions, like, it could be pretty cool. Like I said, obviously with it being Mutiny Bay, it is kind of highly unlikely, but there's always room for something in my theory videos. No matter how stupid they are, they still have some plausibility to them. Obviously, maybe, you know, it's not exactly the most busiest part of the park, and it's not exactly the most successful either. And now we know that Wickerman is a huge success. Expanding this area and, you know, having the Wickerman theme in for it could extremely benefit the park. Obviously, if you can imagine sort of walking into the area, obviously the buntings being everywhere, you know, the atmosphere, the music, possibly even throwing a couple of actors there, you know, it would be very, very cool. And like, if they kind of themed it maybe to the village, that could be pretty cool, like a little village, that would definitely work. And I feel like it would just expand on the Wickerman lore a little bit, maybe adding a couple more attractions. Not like mainstream huge attractions, maybe some stuff like teacups and stuff could be rethemed to like wicker baskets or something like that, and just like theme the area up a little bit more, and it kind of would make it a little bit more active, you know. And, you know, like I said, you know, Mutiny Bay is still quite a big area, and it's still quite a successful area, so not really a definite there, but definitely could still happen. Okay, so that is it for today's video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it, and without further ado, I will see you guys later.